everyone, welcome back. This will be the review of the Vaxee E1 from a diehard Logitech G Pro user. Can this mouse finally sway me to using something else besides the G Pro? Well, let's find out in this review. The unboxing of the mouse is quite simple with no extra accessories. You just get the cable, dongle, and the mouse itself. This does make it feel a little bit cheaper of a product, or I should say one that is feature lacking, as it is quite overpriced in my honest opinion. Considering that the price of the mouse is coming in at 239 CAD after USD conversions, if you're lucky like me, this will be your final price. However, if UPS does end up charging you duties and you can't self-claim this mouse, it would be an additional $52 for my Canadian friends and potentially more for my European watchers. This extra cost would make this mouse a lot harder of a recommendation. And unlike our fortunate US border friends, they can buy this mouse after shipping for 150 USD. Now, getting right into the mouse, it has a matte coating that is hard for me to really describe. Honestly, when comparing this mouse to the G Pro, the E1 has a grippy feeling but also slippery at the same time. If I were to rank these mice in terms of grip, I would say the G Pro is a lot grippier than the E1. These mice are both around the similar weight at 55 to 60 grams, however the Vaxee E1 just feels a lot cheaper in the hand as well. The materials don't feel as dense, however the mouse shell is structurally well made and I can't say I've experienced any creaking or flexing that I have with other lightweight mice. This would be something that you have to try in person to really understand what I'm talking about. However, this is very hard to do since Vaxee only sells direct and they don't have an in-store sample for you to try out yourself. With that aside, let's look into what makes this mouse great from its competitors. Based off the Zowie EC2 shape, a mouse that I've been maining for 5 years in my early CSGO days, picking this mouse up felt very familiar and quite comfortable for me that I did not need to have an adjustment period for me to start performing well with this mouse. A lot of the mainstream mice like Razors, Death Adders, Vipers, and shapes similar to the Final Mouse ULX all have sharp edges near the front of the mouse. What makes this mouse so comfortable for me in my grip style is that the front is rounded off, which is why I also probably prefer the G Pro for the last 6 years. With the rounded edges, it does not distract me from my gameplay as there's no difference in feel when I shift my fingers around the mouse. As well, the stock skates are very good and honestly could be one of the better stock skates that I've used on a gaming mouse in quite some time. The Vaxee E1 can be used with or without software to change its settings as well. Here you can change what the hard physical buttons do on the mouse, as well as the settings such as polling rates, DPI, liftoff distance, and debounce time. The battery life on this mouse with the 1 kHz in competitive mode has lasted me about 2.5 weeks with moderate gaming throughout the day and daily browsing. The best pro of this mouse is its ergonomics. When looking down on my hand, you can see that my hand is angled more upright rather than a flat facing forearm stature, which allows me to use this mouse for longer periods of time than my G Pro, as I'm not feeling much tension or pain while gaming for hours on end. With all the pros, let's talk about some of the E1's shortcomings. The side button, specifically on the back button, MB5, is atrociously done in my opinion. I had some instances where I was clicking it and it was not properly actuating. And the switch itself has a lot of play and mushiness to it as well. And in some instances, I've also heard it squeaking, and this is really annoying for someone like me. And it also seems like this issue has been reported by some users on Reddit as well. Secondly, the clicks on the mouse is quite light and the shell tensioning is not as tight as I would hope it to be. Because I'm gaming on a glass pad, this issue is definitely more apparent than people using a cloth pad. When I pick the mouse up and place it back down during movements, I can feel that the clicks are rattling, but this doesn't really affect my gameplay, but more so my train of thought, as I easily get distracted by the subtle noises that this mouse can make. And lastly, the scroll wheel is definitely a step up from my experience from the Zowie scroll wheels in the past, but it definitely isn't one of the best ones out there as well. Now, let me show you guys a quick sound test. Now, when we consider purchasing from Vaxee, we have to review their after customer care. Vaxee only has a 1-year warranty on their mice, and luckily I haven't had to use it myself, but based on Reddit reviews and a couple friends that had to go through their warranty process, it seems like their after customer service is quite challenging to deal with. If you're worried about warranties, I can highly recommend picking a mouse up from Razer or Logitech or any other mainstream brand, as they will get you a replacement within a week or so after they confirm your issues with the mice. Just basing this off on my personal experiences and what I have seen throughout my years on Reddit. Now, overall, when I judge this mouse as a whole, I have to rate it a 6 out of 10, solely because of the price coming in at 239 CAD and it potentially being $300. There are many other options out there that are cheaper and will perform just as good, if not better. The only difference is how much of a stickler you are for this specific shade, in which I would just recommend the Zowie EC2, as it would be a lot easier to buy from, as well as getting customer service support. Now, because of the 6 out of 10 rating that I gave the E1, you may think this is not going to be my main mouse. However, this will sound a little bit hypocritical of me, but I really do enjoy this mouse and I can frag pretty well with it, and it has now become my main gaming mouse. It's just some things that I may like as an enthusiast may not be a real representation for the mass majority, and this is why, even though this will be my future main mouse, I can't recommend it to the masses unless you're an enthusiast or a hardcore gamer that's familiar with the shape. Now, this is my review of the Vaxee E1. If you guys liked it, feel free to give a like, maybe a possible sub if you like my channel, as this would definitely help me back with the algae. Now, this is BB Tech signing out.